Hi, Muchismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share, give a thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and pass it along if you believe someone else would benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. Is what you're living in your life spiritual conviction or emotional guilt tripping? I mean, this video is catered towards people who are spiritual, who believe in God, who are tapping in as needed when they need to level up, which we all do on a daily, on a regular. Now, spiritual conviction for me, and I'm speaking from me, I'm not an expert, I'm just speaking from life experiences, as opposed to spiritual convictions that I experience. I recognize also emotional guilt tripping that I myself sometimes can run on myself. I don't do it a lot, and most of the time I'm able to recognize it when I am doing it, and that's the most important thing. You can recognize, is this emotional guilt tripping? I'm running guilt trips on myself because of emotional feeling I'm going through. I'm feeling a certain way. See, emotional guilt tripping, I believe, is because something is just not convenient for me, and I'm doing the emotional guilt trip on myself because I want to get out of that feeling. I don't want to feel that way because that's awkward for me. That's like self-preservation I'm doing, as opposed to really taking inventory of what measures I can take, both within myself and without myself, outside of myself, to change the circumstances, if it's in my power. And so emotional guilt tripping often causes me not to address the problem for the long haul. It's just a band-aid. As opposed to spiritual convictions. Spiritual convictions go beyond just a feeling. It is something, if you are in tune with God, spiritual convictions are things that you tend to do that have nothing to do with you. You tend to make decisions that have truly nothing to do with you individually controlling it. And to just make that, to clarify what an example of that would be, is somebody dropped their wallet. You immediately pick it up. You don't think twice about it. Nobody sees you. It's a wallet. You don't really have a thought process in it. Your spiritual conviction causes you to get that wallet and you right way give it to that individual. Now, some would say, well, I'm not a spiritual guy or girl. I've done that. I've given stuff back to people because I know I would want somebody to do that for me. Well, that thing right there is the spiritual conviction. So you don't really have to, I think in many cases, in a lot of cases, you don't have to be spiritual yourself or acknowledge being spiritual, because you are spirit, whether you acknowledge or not. We're all spirit. We're all spirit manifest in a fleshly body. Because in no way could we operate just being in the body and just being absent in a spirit. Because our spirit causes us to move and exist. I was once told, I don't know how true it is, a house that is lived in, a person doesn't have to really do maintenance for a whole year or a person who's living in a house for a whole year, as opposed to a house that sits condemned for a whole year, will be in better shape with those people living in it, moving around, than that house that's unlived in for that same year. Because someone said, I don't know how true it is, because that house has life and it has spirit breathing in it. And that's kind of how your body is. Your body is not an empty house. Your body is occupied by spirit. And so going back to what I'm saying is, the spiritual conviction that you have is stronger, not stronger, it is longer lasting. It's for the long haul. It is more genuine for the good, as opposed to the emotional guilt tripping. Because emotional guilt tripping really doesn't yield the appropriate results, as opposed to spiritual conviction, is what I'm really trying to get to. You have to be able to recognize whether you're doing this to yourself internally, just because you're trying to get out of that awkward, uneasy place you're in, or are you really trying to sincerely, deliberately get in a place for the long haul, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You want to be in a place for the long haul. And even recognizing whether it's a spiritual conviction, that takes maintenance. It takes maintenance. And emotional guilt tripping doesn't really do that. It's just taking measures for the instant gratification of feeling better about that situation. I know I'm saying this repetitively, but I know it can sometimes, I would hope that people are getting it, but I'm saying it a lot of different ways. I'm repeating it, and hopefully that it would digest, because until I began to sit down and think about these things by myself, me and God, and a lot of things I didn't consciously sit down and think about, they just came to me. And that is what spiritual conviction does, independently of itself. It causes you, when you're in a place where you can sit still, it causes you to recognize what is really going on. Am I spiritually convicted of this thing, or this life, or this situation that I'm experiencing? Or am I going through this little emotional stink, this emotional guilt tripping? And the emotional guilt tripping a lot of times will not yield you the appropriate results, the proper results. It won't yield you the results in your best interest. Again, it's just a feeling. It's a feeling we're trying to run from, escape from. We just don't want to be in that place for that moment. And that's all it is, for that moment. And we'll do things to keep our mind off of that feeling. And that's what emotional guilt tripping will do. It'll cause us to run away from that problem. We'll substitute something in place of that feeling to get our mind off of that. But spiritual conviction will cause you to ponder. It'll cause you to meditate on this thing. It'll cause you to really, really get your head around it and see you would take inventory of certain things. And the things you're taking inventory in, that's the beautiful thing about it too, because these things, inventory would just come to you. You'll begin to just ponder different aspects of your life, and you'll collectively come to a point where you start ordering your steps. You start putting things in order by way of priorities, things that are just most important to you, and you'll start like shaving the fat off of these things in your life that mean you no good, that are just secondary, that are really not even worth your time or your energy. And in a big way, I'm making this video because I think a lot of times when I'm talking about narcissists, or we talk about narcissists in that fashion wholeheartedly, a lot of people can get tuned out by it. And I get that, because a lot of us would just rather not have to talk about this, but we must not forget. We must stay vigilant. We must remain focused, engaged, so that this type of thing doesn't creep up on us again like it did before. And that's my whole mission statement. So you can exit the relationship with the narcissist quietly and effective, while educating yourself at the same time on things not to do again. So that's just my whole mission, that, whatever I can do in whatever way that I can bring videos to you guys to capture the fundamentals of what we got to do individually, independently, notwithstanding the narcissist. This is a time for us to do us. You hear him say, do you. This is a time to do you, because the more you do you, the more you won't allow the narcissist to do you. Do you while the time is right and ripe for you. Because if you don't use this time to do you, you won't be in any shape to weather the storm. And I don't want that to sound grim. That's just matter of fact, guys. Okay. That being said, bless.